So the marching band deck is actually one of the decks that I was most excited to profile, because I had like a really cool idea with the whole deck itself, because you require a Soul Blast every turn off of her ability to just get the triple boost and then get the triple drive, of course. It didn't really make much sense to me to play her ride line, just because her ride line seemed to cost so much soul. I know in set 7 we get more cards that like soul charge for her, so maybe then during set 7 it would be more beneficial to play her ride line. But I just didn't really like her ride line. Like, I do like her ride line, but it kind of works against her and what the deck is trying to do, in my opinion. So the best ride line in Stoicheia right now that doesn't use the soul at all is the Roroa ride line. And I was just thinking to myself, if I'm using the Roroa ride line, why don't I just use the Roroa support cards as well? You know, if I have the tokens, I might as well, utilize them, instead of like, oh, I have them and then, I'm just gonna call over them, which I really didn't like that I saw some people were doing when they were using the Roroa ride line. In my personal experience playing against Magnolia that was using the Aurora Ride line, is they would just always end up calling over the tokens, and I'm just like, that's such a waste, because you got 2 free bodies on the board. Like, there has to be a better way to utilize those, and I think I have found a better way to utilize them. But let's get on to the deck profile. Hold on a second. So we're playing 4 copies of the triple rare set 6 LIANORN. The main difference between her and the trial deck LIANORN that we are running in the ride line, I'll get into why we're doing that in a minute, but the main difference is that she has a secondary ability to whereas it's act once per turn, CB1, draw a card, and then call a card, which is like really good. Draw a card and then call a card to rear guard, and if you didn't like discard the card, you discard a card, or like discard the card you drew. But that's really good. But she has exactly the same effect. I'm pretty sure it's the same wording as well as the trial deck LIANORN, to whereas if she's triple boosted, she gets triple drive, which is really good. A key thing to note for future LIANORN players, or just like new LIANORN players in general, is that when you swing with her unboosted, because her effect states that if she gets triple boosted by her effect, then she gets +1 drive. So you don't want to boost with her and then you boost with 2 other units, if you understand what I'm saying, because then you'll miss out on getting the +1 drive. You'll get all the power from the boost, but you'll miss out on the +1 drive. It's just a finicky ability. Just always remember, when you're playing with this deck, swing unboosted and then use her effect to boost all your rear guards. All your back row rear guards. And then we're playing... Oh my, is that really this card's name? We're playing 4 copies of Clapping Dragon. Clapping Dragon is just another really good card in the deck that draws. You're able to recur it from the drop zone. So it's does it have to be from hand to draw a card? No, it just has to... Oh, yeah, it does. It does have to be from hand. Okay, never mind. I'm over here lying to you guys, telling you cheat moves. But it only draws you a card. It's CB1, draw a card if you have, like, a full back row. Only from hand, which is, like, some... because Stoicheia has so much recursion, it makes sense that, like, a lot of the LIANORN support cards do say that their on-play skill only activates from hand. Which is, fair. I get it. You're not hurting my feelings. But I am playing, because I am using the Roroa ride line. I wanted to utilize, like I said, I want to use those free tokens. I just don't want to end up, on turn 3 or on turn 4, like, oh, I have these 2 tokens, but I'm gonna call over them for better boosters. So I wanted to utilize them, and I thought the best way of utilizing them is playing 4 of the grade 1 support card for Roroa, which is Relena. Now, you might not know, because Roroa is really not a popular deck at all, so you might not know what Relena does. Basically, what Relena does is, on Rearguard Circle, act. If you don't have a Momosuke token, CB1, call him a Momosuke token, which is this guy right here. And then Her second ability is Glitter if you have a Roroa Vanguard, which means on turn 2, this is live, when it attacks, Soul Blast 1, and she gains the power of your Momosuke token, which is this little fella right here. And what this little fella does is act rearguard circle once per turn. You could sack as many rearguards as you want, and he gains 5k for each rearguard you sacked until the end of turn. And then continuous, if you have, I believe you have to have a Roroa Vanguard, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's Glitter, so you do have to have a Roroa Vanguard. If you have Relena in front of Momosuke, Momosuke can attack from the back row, which is really good because you're able to just basically turn on your whole deck on turn 2 and just have like a really like disgusting rush with Momosuke and Relena, because you're gonna have Momosuke swinging like at least 15 because you're sacking those 2 free tokens you got. So you have Momosuke swinging for at least 15. You're gonna have Relena swinging for 25 at least without triggers. And then another great support card that's not for LIANORN's archetype but is so abusable in this deck is Creed Assault, which again, if you're oh no, you can't, because you don't have any restanders. Okay, so you can't pop the Creed Assault on turn 2. Okay, so I was crazy. You can't pop the Creed Assault on turn 2. But you are still able to get 4 attacks off on turn 2, which I thought was really cool. And the other reason why I am running the Relena, because this goes off of restanders. It doesn't go off of it doesn't go off the number of attacks. So that was my mistake. But the other reason why I'm playing Relena is just because she's another card that which I feel is very important, because this deck does want to play with a full board. So she's just another card. She is one card that turns into 2 cards because she summons a token. So I just feel like it's very important to max out on those types of cards in your deck that turn into 2 cards, because you do want to play with a full board, and there is like a lot of removal in this format still. Gravidia is still looming, Barrow Magnus still looming, Buff Sagara looming. There's a lot of decks in this meta that do retire and just pick apart your board. So I just feel like it's very crucial to max out on the copies of cards that do replenish your board. But again, we're playing the Creed Assaults because it's busted in this deck. It's a free 20k attacker, because when you restand your grade 1s off of not grade 1s, when you restand your boosters off of LIANORN's ability after she's done attacking, he sees that, and that counts for his ability that a card restood, so he's able to attack. So, and his ability is he gets plus 10k during your turn. So he's just a free 20k attacker with a basic 8k behind him. He's 28. Persona Ride, he's 38. So it's just, again, really good in this deck, and why you wanted to max out on Creed Assaults, even though you can't use it until turn 3. That was my mistake. And then we're playing 4 copies of Denitha, I believe her name is. I'm sorry, I might be butchering these names, but you play 4 copies of Denitha. Denitha's really good. What her ability is Counterblast 1 when she's called from hand if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard. Or does that have to be just grade 3? Yeah. If your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, Counterblast 1, choose a grade 3 or less card from your drop zone and call it to rear guard. So again, another card that just helps you replenish your board, or, call a board for nothing if your board's empty, versus, calling down your whole hand and then having it wiped and then calling down your whole hand every turn. So it's just really important to have these board building cards in this deck, especially since there's so many decks in this metagame that are just pick apart your board very scrumptiously. And then her second ability, which is like why I really like this card, because you could just call her early as a beater, is that during your turn, if you have 2 or more grade 1 or less rear guards, yes, she counts herself, she gets plus 5. So if you're on grade 1, you called a token, you call a token in front of Diantha, you call Diantha, you swing with your Vanguard, and then you swing with Diantha and the token, and that's 18. Or what you could do is you could do 2 13k attacks. So you could do 13 with Diantha and then 13 with your Vanguard boosted. Or, if you call another grade 1 or another Diantha, that's 8 or 13. So, you can do some really cool rush plays with this card. That's why I like it, and that's why I'm maxing it out at 4. Another card that I really like with this deck, and this card by itself is what made me want to pick up and play this deck in the first place, is 3 copies of Succus. What Succus does is when it boosts a Vanguard, you don't have to be at grade 3. So it's just like a really cool card that allows you to pick apart your opponent's board. It's Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rear guards and move it to the Guardian Circle. No matter where it's at, whether it's in the front row, whether it's in the back row, wherever, you can move it to the Guardian Circle. What sucks is it can only target grade 2 or less cards, but that's fine in my opinion. It's just like a really good removal card that gets rid of pesky rear guards, especially when you're attacking with your LIANORN. Usually she's big enough to where your opponent's either gonna no guard it or PG it, so they're not gonna try and go hard guard your LIANORN. So that's just like a -1 for your opponent. And then if you weren't able to move a card, he gets +5 until the end of turn. So it's a really good card. It does cost Soul Blast though, which is a key note in this deck because you want to use all your soul for LIANORN. And even though Relina does also cost a Soul Blast, but you really only make that play if you can afford to make that play. If you know what I'm saying. But again, I have to play this card. This is the whole reason why I wanted to play this deck in the first place. So for the rest of the grade 1s, we're playing 3 copies of Balara. I did want to bump this to 4, but I feel like 3 is enough. I felt like 4 was a little bit too much in my opinion. But Balara is just a card that lets you get cards into your soul, so it's able to replenish your soul. And you know, that's another reason why we are running the trial deck version of LIANORN, because it's just an extra persona ride which equals an extra soul in my opinion. So that's the reason why we are running the trial deck LIANORN in the ride line versus the set 6 LIANORN. And then for the PGs, 3 DPGs, nothing to talk about there, and then 1 Blitz Order PG. And so moving on to the triggers, we play 1 Stoicheia over trigger, which is damn near one of the best over triggers in the game right now. We're playing 3 effect draw triggers. I know this deck draws. I know this deck's able to get advantage. I know it's able to build a free board, but I'd rather play the effect draws because, you know, in case you don't see your board building cards, in case you don't get to draw in the early game, it's just like, it's there to help. I would rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And the fronts I feel like would be nice in this deck, but I feel like are just not needed. And I can get away with running draw triggers. Then we run 4 the effect crits. This is crucial in case you run out of soul. And then 4 vanilla crits, 3 vanilla heals, and then 1 of the restanding heal. Again, the same idea with the restanding heal is that I feel like there's a lot of decks that people are gonna play right now in this metagame, in my opinion, that do have access to restanding vanguards, to restanding rear guards. So I feel that the restanding heal, at least in my opinion, in my area, is going to put in more work, and I'd rather have it at the 1 of in case I need it than to not have it at all. And again, the same idea is I don't want to be running more than 4 10k shields. So at the end of the day, if I'm versing a deck that doesn't restand, then it's just essentially like another 10k shield, which I can live with 4 10k shields. But that is my LIANORN profile. I am super excited to play this deck. This might be the first deck I take to locals after set 6. So yeah, you're gonna see like match videos in the future. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and again, I have more deck profiles for you guys like right away. Like it's gonna be in succession. Like, I know I haven't posted in a while, but now it's gonna be literally, because I have so much content to make, it's literally gonna be back to back to back to back to back to back. So anyway, guys, later.